Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's Ready to Love Miami episode 2 entitled First Kiss. I give a full episode recap with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around and keep all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. It's brunch day at Bar 1. Many are excited to gather over good food and mimosas. Dominica's curiosity, though, is deep as to why she was placed in the bottom selections for elimination. She asked a few guys here and there, but no one wants to give the details. Tommy arrives breaking the fun only for a minute because he has some unfortunate news. Looney tested positive for COVID. She isn't experiencing any symptoms, but to be safe, she will sit out this week. LJ says to production that he's glad that she's okay. It's a serious virus. He makes a note to text her later to check in on her to make sure that she's okay. Tommy continues, the journey will end for one of the women today. He will join with everyone later to get the scoop on some connections. Shareese is happy she got a second chance to mingle more, but it's even more nerve-breaking as she's pressed for time. She needs to make more of an initiative to meet with the fellas. She makes sure to pull as many men to the side as possible, even if that means interrupting current conversations. Shakira doesn't like how the women are aggressive, pulling men away while she's speaking to them. When it happens, she just gets up and walks away, so the men can notice she's irritated. She feels it's up to the men to come after her. While a few ladies speak with Randall, Shareese quickly stops the vibes and demands that Shakira speak with someone else. Mike chats with Brandy and April, speaking briefly about children. He stunts the conversation when he's asked if he wants more children. Since he has 3 from a previous marriage, he can't answer the question, almost choking on his brunch. It will be a large age gap between his oldest preteen. Brandy says to production that she wants children and the goal in life is very important to her. Maybe Mike isn't the right choice for her so far. When April meets with Justice, she mentions to production that I need to watch out for him. He's definitely a charmer. I feel like if I'm not careful, I could get caught up. The mingling continues and Devin is dealing with the heat. Literally, he sweats from being nervous on top of the Florida heat. Shakira shares with Samson that it was unfortunate her marriage had to end. She took a leap of faith with the next steps of her life because who wants to get a divorce? It was the second chance for her because she feels her life received a fresh start. Samson says to production that he loves that Shakira shares her heart and her truth. A great debate begins with KJ, Justice, Kayla, mainly Kayla and Justice. Kayla feels that if she's single, she has every right to date multiple people. But Justice feels that if I'm going on a date with you, I'm clearly interested. Also, I'm spending my money on a woman. Although it's not about spending money all the time, before I can gain interest in a woman, it could be a day, 10 years. Until I'm really interested. That statement doesn't fly with Kayla. She coins what Justice is saying to production as that Miami-ish. If he just wants to talk, then he should go talk to his mama. After that debate, she's over Justice. Meanwhile, Dominica is still on a mission to find out why she was in the bottom for elimination. Mike is still tight-lipped about why, but Shareese is quick to let her know. I can tell you, woman to woman, turn down the volume just a little bit. Mike says to production that I can't believe she said that. These are 2 strong personalities, and I guess comments like that were gonna happen. I was very uncomfortable. Shareese continues, you're about to burst my eardrums. Take it down a notch. Dominica, clearly embarrassed, explains herself saying, I'm not trying to be loud, it's just my voice. Tommy returns and it's time for the men to gather in the lounge. Are there any new ladies that stand out? Randall is digging Trinica. She's beautiful and can hold very wonderful, deep conversations. Swayze is digging Kadian. He loves her swag and even calls her Swayze. Devin likes Shareese, but the other men laugh shocked that he finds her meaningful. Now it's time to discuss who really isn't catching anyone's eye, or some red flags. A few men agree that Jamala, Kadian, and Kayla are throwing some red flags. Samson shares that when having a debate with Kayla, she came off super aggressive. Tommy wants to know if Shareese and Dominica stepped up their game with having a second chance. Collectively, the men agree that Dominica comes off more like a sister and not a love interest, while Shareese stepped up her game to get to know everyone, but it's not definite if her actions were genuine. Samson adds that Shareese went from guy to guy and then dipped out. He even adds more notes joking, yeah, she's a dipper. When the ladies get together to calm their nerves, Shareese is quick to let the ladies know, I'm confused why I was in the bottom. I'm a good catch, and I'm not bowing down to any man. Why should I cater to a man when I pay my own bills? Kayla's feathers are surely ruffled because in her culture and morals, she believes that a woman was made to serve and help her man. She makes a note to production that how are you going to expect to be a man and have a man-like mentality and want a man to do that with you? A man wants you to help, but clearly you look like you don't need any help. Well, she does need help. She continues to Shareese. A good example is when Shakira and I were at the table with Randall and you said, oh, why are you treating this man like a king? Another woman defends Shareese in saying that she was just saying that as a joke, just to break the ice. And Shareese confirms that she was just joking. She's focused on other things and their behavior in her eyes is immature. Tommy is back and it's time to get back to business. He brings Dominica and Shareese back to the front. He shares that the men have decided that for Dominica, her journey with Ready to Love has ended. She says to production that she had a blast and will continue to be herself. She describes herself as the song that you always skip, but it later became a top hit. Tommy now wants to turn up the heat. The power to eliminate this time is in the hands of the women. At the end of the week, one man will go home. Brandy says to production that she's happy the power to eliminate is now with the ladies. It's time to get rid of some bad apples. Tommy encourages the women to stay alert and take notes of the true connections this week. Jamala sets up a one-on-one date with Swayze. She thinks that him not being around a group setting will probably allow him to not always be on. They joke about Swayze's flirting, but he denies the intentions. He just wants to have fun and get to know people in this journey. He wanted to be in love and to stay in love. He's had several relationships, but they end due to him wanting to go faster, wanting a relationship to be serious. He explains that it's normal for people to assume that he's this player, but that's just not him. He's also misjudged as someone that always laughs and is playful, when that's not the case either. He's just a very enlightening person and wants to enjoy life. Swayze says to production that maybe if Jamala and I talk more, a connection can develop. It's always great to get to know someone deeper. Jamala says to production that she likes this side of him. He seems very genuine with all of his intentions. Samson and Shakira meet and he greets her with the gift. Since she loves nature and natural beauty items, he gives her an aloe plant in a vase shaped like a heart. They have meaningful conversation about her son Prince and how she tackles motherhood. Samson knows that a mother's love is unmatched and her son is a part of who she is. It's refreshing for Shakira. They flirt heavily, complimenting their flattering looks. Shareese sets up a Taco Tuesday gathering at her place, and Devin is someone she had an instant connection with. She does notice some hiccups while he settles in. He's really not a great helper when she needs him in the kitchen. His restroom etiquette wasn't so great. He didn't bring anything with him as a guest, and he seems super nervous. She thinks maybe that his mother did a lot for him at home, a little longer than she should have. Brandy arrives and she's excited. Not too much longer, EJ, Randall, Kadian, Tranika, and Randall arrive. Randall says to production that I'm not sure what to expect after the whole King Randy incident. And as soon as I walk in, she greets me saying, "Hey, King Randy." A few minutes later, Justice arrives, bringing the hostess a gift. Tranika came to the gathering with Randall, but EJ offers to make her a drink. He remembers that she had rum and coke at the mixer, and she's very flattered that he remembered such a little detail. Kadian tries to get Devin to talk about his previous relationship, but it's like pulling teeth, and she can't help but to laugh at his BS. He always circles around the questions. Brandy and Randall talk, and they both want children, and they want to consider family. When everyone settles, it's time to clear the air. Randall makes it known that Shareese in her comments made the ladies and him feel a little uncomfortable. Shareese apologizes that she was just joking, and she's a queen. If he's offended by her calling him a king, from now on she would just call him Randall. After that statement, she announces, well, I guess it's good night. Devin says to production that he liked the gathering at Shareese's place and that he could be himself. As far as being romantic with Shareese, at this point, it's just not his thing. Kayla thinking about sending someone home makes her nervous. There hasn't been a long enough time to make a valid decision. She loves to bowl, so she invites Mike, Swayze, and Zoe. Also, Jamala and Shakira. Bowling fun begins, and Mike thinks that Kayla is interesting, but he's a little offset at her age. He thinks that 30 is just a little too young. It's disappointing to Kayla because there seemed to be a connection brewing. Obviously, not anymore. Zoe and Shakira bowl together, and she likes that he's hands-on with giving instructions. Kayla and Swayze get to know one another, and he describes his previous relationship. It was very serious. The woman was 8 years older than him, and they even got a house together. But it all ended because she cheated. Kayla was surprised at their reaction, and her previous relationships were meant to be serious, but he cheated on her. She explains how he sold her this dream of marriage, and it never happened. The relationship before that, he didn't want any children, and she thought that she could get over that. She mentions that from now on, moving forward in a relationship, if it lacks something that she wants, she's out of there. She's done being anyone's toy, unless she just wants some. She adds some excitement by making a challenge between Swayze and Zoe. The loser has to do 20 push-ups, and the winner gets something special. Zoe wins the game, but Swayze taunts that of course he won. Old people love bowling. To knock it off, he does 50 push-ups instead of 20. The prize for Zoe is a small peck on the lips. It's the end of the week and the ladies meet in the lounge. April feels strange knowing that she'll be a part of sending someone home, but knows that it's necessary. The tea is spilled that Kayla shared a little kiss with Zoe, and everyone shares a cute giggle. So, Tommy wants to know, what's the scoop from this week? Kamala gives the tea about Randall and Swayze, and she had a good time. April describes that she's really digging Randall. Tranika likes Randall as well. He's spontaneous, nerdy, and she loves that. Kadian also says Randall. Brandy says Mike. He's tall, dark, handsome. There's a physical connection, but I need to pull back some layers with him. Shakira likes Samson. She says that he's a gentleman and he made her really relax and know that she's a single mom, and it's not a bad thing. She's a great person. Shakira is brought to tears that dating is rough as a single mom, and she carries the guilt of what her son has been exposed to. Tommy notes that it's understood her dating decision is not just for her, but her son as well. She's making strides in a great way, and the ladies applaud her efforts. Now, who are the women not digging? Who isn't ready to love? Kayla says Justice. He seems as if he's not looking for anything serious. Shareese says Devin. He came to my home empty-handed. He was cute, but that's about it. The women agree that he's always sweaty and he seems nervous all the time. April says Mike. We just don't connect. It's unclear if he wants more kids. 2 women are selected to speak with 2 men. One will be informed of where they can improve. The other will be sent home. Tommy has good news. Looney is doing well and is expected to return next week. And ladies, when delivering this news to the gentleman, be careful in your delivery because the power to eliminate shifts back to the men next week. Kadian meets with Devin and Brandy meets with Mike. Kadian sits down with Devin, and it's obvious again that unfortunately, Devin is nervous. Kadian just wants to spark up some sort of conversation and ask him, how many numbers have you been able to exchange so far? In typical Devin fashion, he circles around the question, asking, you mean both males and females? And Kadian once again wants him to stop with the BS. Now, why would I care about the numbers that you exchanged with the fellas? Clearly, I mean the women. Devin says that finally, about 4. Yeah, 4, I believe, yeah. He's not used to approaching women, he explains. It's this awkwardness and the thought of rejection. He gets very nervous and sweaty, and then people judge me because I'm sweaty. Kadian shares that everyone thinks that he's charming, a good guy, but they all agree that he's just not ready to love. Devin says to production that he's not surprised. The ladies came to the conclusion, but he is ready to love. Maybe his special someone is out there. When Brandy speaks with Mike, she says to production, I'm nervous because this isn't a date. I'm delivering news. She gets right to it. Along with marriage, Mike, do you want more children? Once again, Mike is stumped by the question, reluctant to answer, but he finally does. Well, I know you mentioned that you wanted 2 kids, so I guess I would want 5 kids then, making Brandy blush. Now Brandy has to share some news. The ladies want him to open up more, and he's still ready to love. Mike says to production that his plan is to open up more, but he's really getting in connection with Brandy. And that is the end of the episode. And now is your favorite part of the video. That's right, my review. Now let's start with Devin, okay? So I did mention in previous seasons of Ready to Love, sometimes, okay, you do get individuals who are these awesome people, but they are socially awkward. It happens every single season that they're great, they're exciting. When they get in group settings or either they sit down with someone individually, it's this awkward stuttering or fumbling over the words, sweating, not really looking like they're interested because you have this social awkwardness. I really blame the casting directors on this and the casting teams, because when they're being interviewed, you know that they're socially awkward. You know that they have these issues with connecting with people when it comes to having these deep, in-depth conversations. So you have that on top of being filmed, and then that production being on national television. It may seem harsh, but when it comes to reality TV, you can't waste time on people who are not ready to break out of that mold of being awkward, starting conversations, going on several dates. That is the premise of the entire show. It doesn't do anything for the ratings, and it doesn't do anything for the audience. They could have replaced Devin with someone a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more people-friendly, and that would have been more entertaining. There are several roadblocks when it comes to casting, especially for a dating show. You got to think about availability. You got to think about who's ready for TV. You got to think about, of course, you want somebody that's decent and attractive because this is TV. You have to think about the vanity of it all and the tone of this season. When people were looking at the casting photos, they thought, okay, this is the best that y'all could pick. Okay, this is the best of what's going on. But you have to think about timing, who's available. A lot of people who have kids, a lot of people are working, so it's kind of difficult. That's why they need to change the premise and the platform of this show. I've said over and over again, they need to have a group of people who are able to step away from work, or either remote workers now that can step aside for a good 6 weeks and be in a mansion, and they are constantly around each other all the time. Sending people home and not really getting to know them and only talking to them for a few times is crazy. So they need to be in one house setting. It's unfortunate for Devin, but I don't think he was just ready for the vanity-esque of this show. Now let's talk about Dominica. Okay, so we Shareese was being honest, Was it her place to say such a thing? Was it her place to say what everybody was thinking? No, but it was entertaining. I mean, everybody could see and hear that she was very loud. It's unfortunate because Dominica, she, after hearing what she said, she's like, I'm not trying to be loud. I'm not trying to speak like this. That's just, how I speak. That's just who I am. But it may come off like, like Shareese said, you're bursting my eardrums. It was very rude because it was said in front of Mike, and this is supposed to be a date, and then you're, causing embarrassment for Dominica. But it's kind of those conversations you want to have, like, girl, let me bring you to the side and maybe share with you what some people have been saying. I still wouldn't do anything like that, but it was very awkward. It was the truth along with the awkwardness because we're watching it on TV and I'm turning my TV down when she talks. Seems like a very sweet person, but that can come off as, when you're loud, it can come off as, I don't even want to talk to you because I can't get over your volume. But if that's your natural tone, that's a tough one because it's like, how can I control that? Then if I'm lowering my volume, she's in her 40s. So it's like, that's going to take a lot of practice to change the way you speak and who you are and turning the volume down. Like, I'm from the South. If you get a whole bunch of people together, you may not be a loud person, but after they get together, you will be loud. You're like, why am I talking so loud? Let's get to Brandy and Mike. So Mike, and not answering the question about does he want any children? Like, I don't have any kids, okay? But I grew up babysitting so much so that when I got in my 20s, when somebody mentioned to me, was I going to have kids? I'd be like, what? Because I knew kids were not a joke. I was worn out. And those weren't even my kids. So the fact that he was in a marriage, unfortunately, that marriage, it didn't continue due to unfortunate events. And he has 3 children and he's by himself and thinking about more children. It kind of makes me wonder, does he need to just be forthright and say, I don't want any more kids? Is he afraid to say that? And honesty is very important. Mike, if you honestly, wholeheartedly don't want no more children, you need to say that. Unfortunately, when it comes to dating shows and competitions, men can become competitive as well as women. And sometimes you can come off, not genuine because you're trying to win. You're trying to get to the end. And I think that's what's happening here. Hopefully, he's not in that mindset of just trying to win. Just say you don't want kids. If you don't want kids, don't say you want kids. Shareese is definitely the drama puller of this show. And whether she is eliminated next week or not, she is pulling in reaction. Nobody else on this season is really bringing any drama. People seem pretty cool. Of course, we see in the previews that things are, some feathers are getting ruffled and there's some arguing. But it doesn't seem like it's giving me the energy of what Miami could bring. And once again, this is production. Once again, they need, I hate to seem like this is another ism, but they really got to change the age rankings with these dating shows, because the majority of the people who are casted, it's not ready to love. It should be, I'm been married, divorced, and ready to love again, or I had some kids, I'm a widow or whatever, and I'm, ready to start. It should be ready to love again, because the majority of these people are dang near 50 and they've lived their lives. Okay. And they're trying to get back in the swing of dating. Let me know what you think. This episode really wasn't too wowing for me. It isn't really something I could sit here and give a 30-minute review on because it was pretty much straight to the point. Swayze, I think, has the energy of he likes a relationship, but maybe some of his behaviors and maybe the way he comes off, because a lot of people come off with the notion that, he's not serious, that he's a jokester, that he, so how you, the tones and how you sell yourself could be wrong. So it's probably something that he needs to evaluate. Really not seeing anybody that's just knocking me off of my feet. Samson seems like a really good guy, but for some reason, Randall looks like he just woke up from a nap for some reason, and he's not too posh. But maybe it's just me. The only really guys to me that stand out are Samson. Randall seems like a nice guy, but like I said, he looked like he just woke up. Zoe seems like, he's just ready to kick it. He's not trying to be committed and he wanted to be on the show. But yeah, nobody's really knocking me off of my feet. Nobody's knocking me off my feet. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, in between time, check out Bell Collective Season 2. Make sure that you binge watch that. If you haven't seen Season 1, make sure you check that out so you can join the conversations for Season 2. Stay tuned for August 20th. We have the HBO original series of House of Dragon. It's coming up. Take care of yourself and each other. I'll see you next time. Bye.